Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and today I am sharing my tips on how to mat 4x6 photographs, which if you have made a Mosaic Moments page, you kind of know it's a little bit awkward because it doesn't make it doesn't fit evenly around a mat like the rest of the photographs I have on this page. So for 4x6 photographs, you need set B. And you don't use the biggest one because that's the one that fits the grid. So you grab the layering one for your photograph and you see it's too tall for a 4x6 photograph. So the layering size in set B is too big, right? And then you grab the die, the largest die from the layering die set or the layering bundle for set B. And you will also see it's too tall. In fact, that one is even taller than the layering die from the basic bundle. So what do you do if the basic bundles from either set don't really work for a 4x6 photograph? All right, to start off, first of all, when you're using a 4x6 photo, you will want to use set B and use the largest die from the set as your background. So when I place it on top of the grid paper here, you can see it covers 4x6 squares on the grid paper. So yes, that is the size you need to for the background of your 4x6 photo. So I went ahead and cut my mat with the largest die in set B. So again, the largest die in set B is what you use to mat your 4x6 photographs, because of course it covers 4x6 squares on your grid paper. So I glued the back of it and carefully glued it on top of that section of the grid paper that was empty. And the easiest thing you can do with your photograph at this point is to just glue it. You don't have to crop it at all. You can put it right on the mat and make sure at least 3 of the edges are even all the way around. You will have a little bit of room on the bottom here. When I do it this way, I always leave the bottom empty. And what you can do is fill it in with a title of the year. You can write it with a pen. I've also added some border dies here to fill in that space. You can leave it as it is or add some. It's also an opportunity to add something below your photograph. So that is what's nice about not cropping your photograph at all and just leaving a little bit of space. And you also, I don't do this as often, but you can put the photograph right in the middle. The 2 edges will be even, and the other 2 will be a little bit longer. So you can see on the top and bottom, the mat's a little bit longer. Sometimes I'll add a little something on those wider edges too. That's a little decorative as well. But I know for many of you, you want the look, so the photograph does have an even mat all the way around it, which, again, sticking the photograph directly on this size, it's not going to be even all the way around, so what do you do about that? I have set B here again, and there is the layering die for the 4x6 die, but again, it's too big. As I showed before. So I did cut the photograph with the next one down. This one measures 3x5 squares on the grid. So this one actually does fit the grid paper, but I used it for my layering die in this case. And you can see the photograph is really small. Now maybe you want this look because sometimes it is nice when you're using a pattern paper to have a really large mat. But I'm just letting you know, this is going to crop your photo pretty small. But that is the biggest die from set B you can use to crop your photograph. But what I did is I used that layering die for the 4x6 size and to cut a piece of cardstock. And as you can see here, it is even all the way around. So that's how you can get the even space there. You know, it's too big for your photograph, so you can use a piece of cardstock. And then I layer my photograph on top. So this is the option you have with the basic bundle. And of course, since you are using, like I said, this is the die that fits 3x5 squares on the grid. Your photograph's going to be cut pretty small, so you're not going to be able to keep your entire photograph. You have to make sure your subjects, whatever subject you have, can be cropped to that size. But this is the only way really to get your photograph to be even all the way around without having that huge mat. behind there because I had the stripes before, and then I put another layer because I don't necessarily want to have that wide of a mat. So that's your option if you have the basic bundle. Now, if you have the layering bundle, you can use the next size down from the biggest one. So the second biggest die in the layering B set can cut your 4x6 photograph, which is great. And you can keep it as is here. It makes your mat, the striped paper here, it is a little bit wide, and some of you will probably be happy with that. So even though you can't use the biggest one, you can use the next size down for your photograph, and it doesn't crop it as much as the one I just showed from the basic bundle. What I did here is I took the biggest die from this pastel bundle and cut it with a piece of cardstock. So you can also do the double layering here. As you can see, now it has the even matting, although the matting between the photograph and the white piece of paper is a little bit wider than the matting between the white paper and the pattern paper here. You can see that white's pretty wide there. And so if you want to fill in that space so every single layer is even all the way around, you take the next die down, the layering die from set B, and you can cut it with another piece of paper. So here I cut black cardstock with that. And I'm going to try to make it even here as much as possible, and then put your photograph on top. So now you have 3 even layers on top of the mat that fits on the grid paper. So again, the 4x6 photograph is fun in that you can have lots of fun with adding layers onto your page, and your photograph actually stands out a little bit more because all those layers help it stand out as the focal point, right? So this is an option, is having multiple layers. Now I'm going to show you my favorite way when I want to have that even layer. I really like to do it this way. So of course I create my mat that fits the measurements of the grid paper first, and then I use the layering die, the next die down, to cut a piece of cardstock. So of course I grab this, cut it, and create this white piece of cardstock. And so instead of using the pastel layering die, I like to use the basic die because you see a little bit more of the paper in the very back. I really like doing this technique when I have a pattern paper, because when you have pattern paper, you kind of want to show more of that paper. So again, instead of using the biggest layering die from the pastel set, I used the layering die from set B for the 4x6 die. And then I cut my photograph using the second biggest die in the layering set. And so to finalize my page, I'm going to glue the back of this photograph and stick it on top of the white mat here. And so this is going to have a thinner mat. But what I like about it is, especially if you have pattern paper, I feel like a photo on top of a pattern paper kind of looks busy, and the pattern paper kind of takes away from your photograph. So I like adding in that really thin mat because it separates your photograph from the pattern paper more. But with this layering technique I do, you get to see a little bit more of that pattern paper as well. So again, first I use the die from the largest die from set B that fits the grid, and then I use the layering die also from the basic die set that's a little bit smaller, and then I grab the second largest die from the pastel layering set to cut my photograph. So simple, really easy. I really like this look because, like I said, I really like showing more of that pattern paper, and then having the thinner mat behind the photograph separates the photograph a little bit more from a busy pattern paper. So this is my favorite layering design for the 4x6 photographs. Alright, we have reached the end of today's video. I hope you guys learned a lot about how to mat your 4x6 photographs. I know a lot of you have been asking about this and have been wondering, because obviously the layering dies for the 4x6 grid size is too large for your photograph, and a lot of you have been confused on how to use it and how to have an even edge around your 4x6 photograph. So I hope this answered your questions, and if you have any more, let me know below. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed learning about today's tip. Anyway, have fun scrapping at home, and I'll see you guys next time.